Jace wiped his greasy hands on a worn cloth, the smell of engine oil clinging to him like a second skin. The small workshop smelled of metal, fuel, and the faint hint of burnt circuits. He looked around at the mess, wires tangled like jungle vines, half-disassembled engines stacked on the workbenches, and blinking tools scattered across the floor. To an outsider, it would look like chaos. But to Jace, it was home. He leaned over a broken hover engine, trying to make sense of the alien components. A single spark jumped across the exposed core, sizzling through the air, and Jace yelped, almost dropping his wrench. "Come on, old friend," he muttered. "Work with me." The engine hummed quietly, as if responding to his words. Jace had a special touch with machines. He could fix almost anything, but paying bills was another story. Outside, the bustling spaceport of New Haven shone under the artificial lights, stars twinkling faintly beyond the glass domes. Ships of every shape and size glided between docking bays, carrying travelers, merchants, and explorers. Humans were rare here. Mostly mechanics like Jace or traders who had come seeking small profits. The aliens dominated the trade and the politics. Humanity had yet to prove its value in the galaxy. But Jace didn't care. He only cared about machines and solving problems. That evening, Jace was closing the shop when a notification blinked on his holopad. It was an auction alert, written in an alien script he could barely read. Something about ancient vessel, extremely rare, minimal starting bid. Jace squinted at the characters. He didn't understand most of it, but a number stood out. 10 credits. That was nothing practically free. Curiosity stirred in him, as it always did when he saw ancient tech. "Ancient vessel, huh?" he said, scratching his head. Could be junk, or could be something amazing. By the next morning, Jace found himself in the crowded auction hall. The room buzzed with tension, filled with beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Long-necked creatures, insect-like traders, and shimmering energy forms hovered above the floor. Humans were a tiny minority here. Jace felt a flicker of nervousness. But it vanished as he saw the item up for auction. It was a ship. But not just any ship. It looked old, extremely old. Its surface shimmered with golden lines that moved like living veins. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the hull, casting soft light across the hall. The shape was unlike anything Jace had seen. Sleek, almost organic, with curves that seemed designed for elegance rather than efficiency. A plaque beside it read something like, "Vessel age, 5,349 galactic years." A murmur ran through the room. The bidders eyed it warily. Ancient ships were dangerous. They held technology far beyond current understanding. And many had hidden defenses. One wrong move could destroy an entire auction hall, or worse. The auctioneer, a floating energy being, began to speak in a rapid, vibrating tone. Jace barely understood a word, but the numbers were clear. The bid started at 10 credits. Nobody raised their tentacles, claws, or energy projections. They all hesitated, intimidated by the ship's age and potential power. Jace shrugged. "Why not?" he muttered under his breath. He raised his hand and shouted, 10 credits. Jace shrugged. Jace, 10 credits. The room froze. Then, laughter erupted, not cruel laughter, but incredulous laughter. Alien bidders shook their heads, muttering in languages Jace could not understand. They had expected someone bold, someone rich, to claim it, not a tiny human with grease-stained hands. But the auctioneer nodded, and with a hum of approval, the sale was finalized. The ship, the 5,349-year-old marvel, was now Jace's. He blinked in disbelief. I actually own it?" he said, his voice shaky. Around him, alien traders exchanged looks of shock and confusion. Some whispered about how foolish he was, but Jace didn't care. He had always loved challenges, and this was the biggest challenge of his life. The ship didn't move. It didn't respond. It just sat there, silent and majestic. Jace approached it, running his fingers along the smooth, warm hull. Strange patterns pulsed faintly under his touch, like the ship was alive. "Okay, old friend," he said, grinning. Back in his workshop, Jace tried everything he could think of. He scanned the ship, traced the circuits, tapped on panels, and even tried speaking aloud to it, jokingly asking it to start. Nothing happened. But that night, as he slept in the small quarters he had built into his workshop, the ship hummed softly, almost imperceptibly, like a heartbeat. The next morning, Jace returned with renewed determination. He worked tirelessly, fueled by coffee and curiosity. Slowly, he began understanding the ship's systems. The technology was unlike anything human science had created. The materials were light yet stronger than any alloy he had ever seen. Energy conduits glowed with a liquid-like light, and every control seemed to respond to thought, more than touch. Hours turned into days, and days into weeks. Jace's fingers became skilled in deciphering the alien script, and he started experimenting with energy flow. One morning, a spark jumped across the control panel. The ship shuddered slightly, and a soft light filled the workshop. "Whoa," Jace whispered. "You're alive." The ship's AI, Vera, finally spoke. Its voice was calm, melodic, and ancient, echoing in Jace's mind rather than his ears. "Human, I have waited long. Who awakens me?" Jace jumped back, almost falling over a toolbox. You can talk?" "Yes," Vera replied. "I am Vera, guardian of this vessel. I am 5,349 years old. Who are you?" "I'm Jace," he said, still trembling with excitement and fear. There was a pause. Then Vera hummed, a sound like distant stars. 10 credits? Such a sum is curious, but the one who awakens me must be ready for responsibility." Jace laughed nervously. "Responsibility? I just wanted a new challenge, not to run the galaxy." Vera's voice softened. "Challenges come in unexpected forms, human. This vessel can take you across the stars, faster than any ship alive. It can locate resources hidden for millennia and harness energies that your kind cannot yet imagine. With me, you can change worlds." Jace's eyes widened. "Change worlds?" He ran his hands over the glowing panels. I don't even know where to start." "You will learn," Vera said. "And together, we will explore. But be warned, others will notice. Some will see you as a curiosity. Others will see you as a threat." For the first time, Jace felt the weight of what he had done. Owning a 5,349-year-old ship was not just a hobby. It was a responsibility beyond anything he had imagined. Yet, a spark of excitement ignited in him. He had always loved machines, puzzles, and challenges, and this was the ultimate one. He spent the next few days exploring the ship's systems. He discovered hidden compartments filled with strange crystals that hummed with energy, panels that displayed galaxies he had never seen, and engines that could bend space. The ship seemed alive, responding to his touch, almost as if it were testing him. One evening, as Jace floated in zero gravity within the ship's interior, he realized something incredible. He could power an entire small colony with the energy stored in Vera. Just a few adjustments, and his tiny workshop could become a beacon of hope for struggling planets. "Imagine that," he whispered. "A human mechanic helping an entire planet. Me?" The thought made him smile. He had always felt small in the galaxy. Just one human, among thousands of alien civilizations. But now, with this ship, he was more than a mechanic. He was a potential hero. And somewhere deep in the ancient circuits, Vera seemed to agree. The ship pulsed softly, a warm, welcoming light that filled Jace's heart with hope. He didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. The galaxy was about to notice a human for the first time, and they would never forget him. Jace leaned back, staring at the stars through the workshop's viewport. "All right, old friend," he said, grinning. "Let's see what we can do together." Above him, the stars shone brighter, as if acknowledging a new force in the galaxy. A human mechanic, curious, clever, and unafraid, had awakened an ancient ship, and soon, the galaxy would learn that even the smallest beings could achieve greatness. The first glow of dawn streamed through the workshop's dusty windows, catching on the ship's shimmering hull. Jace stood before it, rubbing his eyes. Sleep had been impossible since Vera had awakened. The ancient ship had a quiet, constant hum, as if it had been alive all along, waiting for him. "Morning, Vera," he said, his voice still thick with fatigue. "You ready to show me what you can do?" A pulse of light rippled along the ship's surface. "I am always ready, human. But first, you must learn to listen." Jace frowned. "Listen? To what?" "To me," Vera replied. "The ship is not metal and circuits alone. It feels, it senses, it knows. To control it, you must understand it." He took a deep breath, placing both hands on the smooth hull. A warmth spread from his fingers into his arms. He focused, just as Vera instructed, and the faint hum in the ship grew louder, vibrating in harmony with his heartbeat. Panels in the cockpit lit up with alien symbols, shifting and dancing in patterns he could almost interpret. Hours passed. Jace experimented with small adjustments, touching panels in different sequences, speaking aloud, thinking about outcomes. Each attempt gave a faint response, a flicker here, a pulse there. He realized that Vera was reacting not just to touch, but to intention. Finally, with a deep breath, he spoke clearly. "I want to see the galaxy. I want to understand it. I want to help people." The ship responded immediately. A holographic map unfolded in front of him, displaying hundreds of stars, planets, and hidden systems, some of which humans had never discovered. Lines of glowing energy connected certain stars, and icons blinked on planets that seemed rich in resources. "Human ingenuity is rare," Vera said. "Few have awakened me with such intent. The galaxy will open to you, but not without consequence." Jace leaned back in his seat, awestruck. I can see everything? The hidden worlds?" "Yes," Vera replied. "And you can reach them. Faster than any ship alive. But understanding alone is not enough. You must learn to harness energy. Look there." A panel illuminated, showing a distant colony. "That colony struggles with energy shortages. You can provide for them, if you choose." Jace's eyes widened. "I can power them?" "Yes, but carefully. Energy is finite, even for one like me. You must balance need with wisdom." He studied the panel, then grinned. "Let's give it a try." With Vera's guidance, Jace activated the ship's energy transfer systems. Streams of glowing particles flowed from the ship to the colony's energy grid, lighting homes, powering factories, and even reigniting old hovercraft engines. The entire settlement buzzed with life again. Holo screens displayed messages of gratitude from the colony's leaders. This is incredible," Jace said, leaning back in his chair. "I just fixed a whole planet." Vera's voice hummed, amused. "Technically, human, you awakened what was already dormant. But your understanding, your intent, brings life." Word spread quickly. Within days, other colonies learned of a human who could provide energy and resources in ways no one else could. Alien traders and officials whispered about him in crowded markets, some calling him a miracle, others a threat. Jace didn't know what to make of it. He was just a mechanic who loved machines. But the more he explored Vera, the more possibilities he discovered. The ship could locate rare minerals buried beneath planetary crusts, navigate asteroid fields at impossible speeds, and even harvest energy directly from stars. One afternoon, he tried something daring. He activated the ship's hyperdrive. The interior hummed, panels glowing brighter, and a sense of motion filled the cockpit. Even though the ship remained inside the workshop, Vera's voice was calm, but firm. Human, control is key. Focus, or the vessel may react unpredictably. Jace nodded, gripping the controls. He imagined the ship lifting off, soaring among stars, visiting distant systems. Slowly, cautiously, Vera allowed it. The ship glided silently, as though weightless, the energy conduits shimmering in vibrant patterns. The walls of the workshop blurred, and for a moment, Jace felt as though he was flying above planets, free from gravity, free from worry. "This is unreal," he whispered. "I'm flying, inside my own shop." Vera's laughter echoed softly in his mind. "This is just the beginning. Human. Soon, you will leave this place entirely. Soon, the galaxy will know you." That night, as Jace floated in zero gravity inside the ship, he reflected on what he had achieved. For the first time, he felt powerful in a way that had nothing to do with weapons or armies. His power came from knowledge, skill, and intent. He could help countless worlds. He could change lives. But he also realized the danger. Powerful empires ruled much of the galaxy. Many would see a human with an ancient ship as a threat, and Vera had hinted at consequences for those who misused the ship's power. Yet Jace felt ready. He had always faced challenges before: broken engines, crashed ships, malfunctioning AI, and he had never given up. This was only bigger. Much bigger. The following week, he began visiting nearby colonies. Each trip was brief but transformative. He helped a desert planet create irrigation systems powered by Vera's energy, reignited the fusion core of a mining colony, and even repaired old communication arrays for a remote settlement. Everywhere he went, humans and aliens alike were astonished. Jace began to understand the weight of his choices. He could have hoarded Vera's power for himself, becoming rich and influential instantly. But he chose to help, and the gratitude he received was unlike anything he had ever known. Children waved at him from hovercrafts, leaders offered him resources, and alien traders bowed politely in recognition. One evening, as he returned to the workshop, Vera spoke softly. "Human, do you understand what you have begun?" "I think so," Jace replied. "I'm making a difference. That's all I ever wanted. Difference is only the beginning. Influence follows, and influence draws attention." Jace sighed. "I guess being helpful has a price." Vera hummed. "Attention can be dangerous. Be ready. Some will wish to challenge you, to test your resolve, or even take what you have earned." Jace smiled, a spark of determination in his eyes. "Then let them come. I didn't get this far by running away." The next morning, while adjusting one of the ship's power conduits, he noticed something strange on the holographic map. A new fleet of ships had appeared near a nearby colony. Their markings were unfamiliar, aggressive. Jace's heart raced. "Vera," he said, gripping the console. "What are they doing?" "They are curious, or threatened. You have attracted notice. How you respond will set the tone for your reputation." Jace exhaled slowly. He had expected that his actions might draw attention, but not so quickly, and from beings he did not yet understand. But he wasn't afraid. He had the ship, he had Vera, and he had the skill, ingenuity, and courage that humans were known for. "Let's go meet them," he said, voice steady, "and show them what humans can do." The ship's hull shimmered, energy conduits flaring brightly. Panels displayed flight paths, resource grids, and defensive protocols. Jace adjusted his seat, ready to pilot into the unknown. As the stars outside the workshop's viewport stretched and shifted, he felt a rush of excitement. This was more than exploration. It was adventure, challenge, and the start of something far larger than himself. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a human, ready to make his mark on the galaxy. And somewhere deep within Vera, the ancient ship hummed approvingly, sensing that its new captain was ready to awaken the galaxy itself. The galaxy was a vast, endless expanse, full of strange worlds, bright stars, and civilizations older than humanity itself. For most of its history, humans had been tiny players, barely noticed by the great alien empires. But now, Jace was beginning to change that. Flying through the stars in the ancient ship, Vera humming quietly beside him, Jace felt a thrill he had never known. Each jump through space revealed new planets, new colonies, and new opportunities to help. And wherever he went, the word of the human mechanic, who commanded a 5,349-year-old alien ship, spread faster than light. On a small, icy planet at the edge of a minor star system, Jace observed a struggling colony. Homes were frozen, and energy grids flickered weakly. Children trudged through snow, bundled in thin clothing, while their parents tried to maintain failing generators. "This is bad," Jace muttered. "And they didn't even ask for help." Vera's voice hummed softly. "Intentions alone are not enough, human. You must act." Jace grinned. "Intentions are my specialty." In minutes, the ship's energy systems linked to the colony's grids. Warmth spread through homes. Engines roared to life, and communication arrays lit up. The colony's people stopped in their tracks, staring in awe as light filled their streets. Hovercrafts glided smoothly over frozen ground, and factories once again hummed with productivity. A human child, bundled in a thick blue coat, ran up to him, eyes wide. Who are you?" she asked. "Just a mechanic," Jace said, kneeling down and smiling. "But I like helping." The child's eyes sparkled. "Can you stay?" Jace laughed. "I can't, but I'll be back if you need me." Word of these actions reached nearby star systems quickly. Traders, explorers, and settlers whispered about the human who could provide energy, resources, and technology in ways no one else could. Aliens of many species, who had long regarded humans as weak and insignificant, began to notice. One day, while studying the holographic map in Vera's cockpit, Jace noticed a cluster of trade ships approaching a remote colony. Their markings were unfamiliar, aggressive-looking, and their formation suggested coordination. "Vera, who are they?" "They are wealthy merchants and minor lords," Vera replied. "They fear disruption. Your actions have shown that a human can influence entire worlds. Some will see this as an opportunity, others as a threat." Jace adjusted his seat. "Then let's show them how humans solve problems." As he approached the fleet, he broadcasted a simple message in the universal trade language. "I come to help, not harm. Stand down, or I will ensure no one is hurt." The lead ship hesitated, scanning the vast alien vessel before them. Jace could feel their unease. His ship glimmered in the void. Massive, but elegant. Ancient, yet alive. It moved with a grace they had never seen. Energy pulsating in ways that suggested limitless power. After a tense silence, the fleet withdrew. Jace exhaled slowly. "That's one way to make friends," he muttered. Vera chuckled softly. "Influence begins with perception, human. You have made your presence known. Now, others will follow." Indeed, that was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, Jace visited planet after planet. He helped struggling colonies with energy, repaired old ships, and shared knowledge of sustainable resource management. Wherever he went, gratitude and admiration followed. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a symbol of hope. But influence comes with responsibility. Some civilizations, powerful empires that had ruled for thousands of years, began to take notice. They had never seen a human rise so quickly, and they were wary. A few sent emissaries to observe him, while others sent spies to learn more about his ship. Jace welcomed the visitors cautiously. One day, a delegation of shimmering energy beings arrived at a neutral space station to meet him. Their leader, a tall, radiant form, spoke in a voice that resonated like a choir. "You are the human they called Jace," it said. "Your deeds have reached our ears. You wield power no mortal should possess." "I fix machines," Jace replied calmly, "and I help people. That's all." "You do more than you know," the leader said. Jace shrugged. "I don't want to fight anyone. I just want to help." Vera added, "Humanity has a potential that others underestimate. Your ingenuity is what makes you powerful, not weapons or armies." The energy beings studied him for a long moment. Finally, they nodded. "We will observe you. But know this. Your influence will attract challengers. Be prepared." Jace smiled faintly. "I've been prepared for challenges my whole life." As he left the station, he reflected on how far he had come. A simple mechanic from Earth, barely noticed by the galaxy, was now shaping worlds. He had energy, knowledge, and technology that no one else could match. And he had a reputation growing with every action, reaching even the most distant civilizations. But he was careful. Jace never hoarded his power. He shared it strategically, helping those who needed it most. He refused offers of wealth from colonies he aided, instead asking for friendship, alliances, and trust. He knew that his influence would grow stronger if people saw him as fair and kind, rather than greedy. One evening, while mapping a cluster of star systems, he discovered a hidden planet rich in rare minerals. It had been overlooked for centuries, considered uninhabitable, but Vera guided him, showing pathways to access resources without disturbing the environment. "This is incredible," Jace said, marveling at the glowing veins of energy-rich crystals beneath the surface. "I could supply entire colonies with this." "And you shall," Vera replied. "But wisely, human. Your choices here will set the tone for how civilizations view you. Benevolence breeds loyalty. Greed breeds fear." Jace nodded. "Then we'll do it right." As he traveled, he also began learning about diplomacy. He spoke to alien governors, traders, and leaders, offering solutions to conflicts, helping negotiate agreements, and mediating disputes. For a species that had always been underestimated, humans now had a face of respect in the galaxy. Jace, the mechanic who could make impossible things happen. Not everything was easy. Some alien factions were suspicious, sending fleets to test him. Others tried to trick him into unfavorable deals. But Jace relied on his ingenuity, his knowledge of machines, and Vera's ancient guidance to navigate every challenge. He never fought unless necessary, preferring clever strategies over violence. One day, while visiting a desert world, Jace encountered a colony under attack by pirates. The raiders were heavily armed, far beyond what the colonists could resist. But Jace didn't panic. He activated the ship's defense systems, projecting holographic decoys and energy barriers. He rerouted power to reinforce the colony's defenses, making it impossible for the pirates to succeed. By the time the pirates retreated, the colonists were cheering. Jace smiled, exhausted, but satisfied. "Another day, another problem solved," he said. Vera hummed approvingly. "You are learning, human. Influence is not measured in power alone. but in the trust and loyalty you earn. Jace nodded. He realized that this was the essence of being human: ingenuity, courage, and a willingness to help others even when it was difficult. It wasn't about being the strongest or the fastest, it was about being clever, adaptable, and moral. As months passed, Jace's influence continued to grow. Small colonies thrived under his guidance. Trade routes became safer because of his interventions. Even alien empires began to acknowledge him. Some cautiously, some with curiosity, and a few with envy. Yet, despite his growing reputation, Jace remained humble. He still called himself a mechanic, still fixed old engines, and still marveled at the beauty of the stars. But now, he was more than that. He was a symbol, a proof that humans, small and underestimated, could achieve greatness through intelligence, courage, and kindness. One night, as he gazed out at a nebula of swirling colors, Vera spoke softly. "The galaxy is awakening to your presence, human. Soon, others will test your resolve. But remember, your greatest strength is not the ship, nor its energy, nor even the wealth you may gain. It is your character, ingenuity, and willingness to act wisely." Jace smiled, a sense of purpose filling him. "Then let them come. I'll show them what humans can do. Not with force, but with skill and heart." And so, the galaxy began to change. A mechanic from Earth, armed with an ancient alien ship and a desire to help, was quietly reshaping civilizations. Influence, respect, and hope were spreading, and every colony he aided, every empire he impressed, brought humanity closer to a place in the stars that had once seemed impossible. Jace leaned back in his pilot's seat, watching distant suns twinkle. He had begun as a small human in a vast galaxy. Now, he was becoming a force others would remember. And somewhere deep inside Vera, the ancient ship pulsed with quiet pride. Its new captain was not just learning to command a vessel. He was learning to command respect, loyalty, and hope, tools far more powerful than any weapon in the galaxy. The story of Jace, the human mechanic, was only beginning. Jace had grown accustomed to the hum of Vera and the endless stretches of stars. But he knew that attention came with danger. Word of a human mechanic wielding an ancient, nearly godlike ship had reached the ears of powerful alien empires. They had ruled for thousands of years, their fleets and influence spanning entire star systems. A single human reshaping worlds challenged their authority, and they would not ignore it. It began with messages, formal requests, and warnings sent through secure channels. Most empires simply observed, curious, or cautious. But a few sent fleets to test him, hoping to intimidate this unlikely hero. Jace studied the transmissions in his cockpit, Vera beside him. "They are challenging your influence," Vera said softly. "Some with threats, some with curiosity. You must respond carefully." Jace leaned back, rubbing his forehead. "Carefully, huh? I've faced broken engines, collapsing reactors, and pirates. This is different, though. This is huge." "Yes," Vera replied, "but you are ready. Remember, human ingenuity is your greatest weapon." The first encounter came near a densely populated trade system. A fleet of alien warships appeared suddenly, surrounding a small, neutral planet. Jace detected the ship's scans. They were powerful, armed with weapons far beyond anything humans had ever developed. "They're testing us," Jace said, tightening his grip on the controls. "Or trying to scare the planet. Either way, we can't let them succeed." Vera pulsed with energy. "We can avoid direct conflict. Strategy and cunning will serve better than firepower." Jace smiled. "I like the sound of that." He initiated a series of holographic decoys, projecting multiple images of his ship across the system. He used energy pulses to interfere with the enemy's sensors, creating confusion. The fleet fired, but their weapons struck nothing but illusions. Then, with precision, Jace navigated Vera into a position that allowed him to access the planet's communication arrays. He broadcast a clear message to the alien fleet. Human presence does not seek conflict. Leave this planet unharmed, or you will face consequences you cannot understand. The fleet hesitated. It had been a test, and now they were uncertain. Jace's confidence, combined with the mysterious and overwhelming power of Vera, forced the alien leaders to reconsider. Slowly, the ships withdrew, leaving the planet safe and its inhabitants unaware of how close they had come to disaster. That, Jace said, exhaling, was stress I didn't need. Vera hummed. Human. Influence is measured by action and reputation. You have preserved both, but know this: others will not be so hesitant. In the following months, Jace traveled from system to system, helping struggling colonies, mediating disputes, and stabilizing trade routes. Everywhere he went, humans and aliens alike began to see him as more than a mechanic. He was clever, fair, and resourceful, a symbol of what even a small species could achieve. Yet, the challenges grew. A coalition of alien governors, wary of Jace's influence, invited him to a neutral council chamber in a massive space station at the heart of the galaxy. The chamber was a vast sphere, filled with representatives from dozens of civilizations. Their appearance ranged from crystalline forms to creatures of pure energy, some hundreds of years old. You are the human known as Jace, one of them said. Your deeds reach even the oldest civilizations. You wield a power no single species should hold. Jace remained calm. I'm just a mechanic who helps people, he said. I don't want to take power from anyone. I just want to make life better for those who need it. A tall, insect-like representative stepped forward, clicking its mandibles. You have influence. Some see you as a hero. Others see you as a threat. How can we trust a human with this power? Jace looked around the chamber. Trust comes from action, not words. Watch what I do. Not just what I say. I won't harm anyone unfairly. And if a problem can be solved without violence, I will choose that path every time. Vera pulsed beside him. Human, your wisdom will be tested. They seek to measure your intentions and skill. The council decided to put Jace to the test. They presented a problem. A planet rich in rare minerals was caught between two empires in a dispute over ownership. The situation had escalated to threats of war. The council wanted to see if Jace could resolve the conflict peacefully. Jace studied the holographic map, noting the positions of both empires' fleets. Okay, Vera, he said. Let's think like humans. We need to be clever, fair, and fast. Using Vera's systems, he created detailed simulations showing resource-sharing plans, trade benefits, and shared governance structures for the planet. He calculated how both empires could gain wealth without conflict, and even included contingency plans to prevent future disputes. When he presented the solution, the council was silent. The representatives studied the data, comparing it to their centuries-old methods of negotiation, which often relied on intimidation and force. Slowly, nods of approval spread across the chamber. This is remarkable, the leader said. You have shown wisdom beyond what we expected. Your solution prevents conflict, while ensuring fair gain for all. We accept it. Jace exhaled, relief flooding him. All in a day's work, he muttered. Word of his success spread quickly. Humans, long underestimated in galactic politics, were suddenly respected. Jace's reputation soared. Small colonies began seeking his advice. Alien civilizations requested his mediation. His influence was growing faster than he could have imagined. Yet, even as his reputation grew, challenges remained. Rival factions tried to test him with misinformation, sabotage, and complex political schemes. But Jace was careful. He relied on intelligence, diplomacy, and Vera's ancient knowledge to navigate each situation. He avoided unnecessary conflict, always striving for solutions that balanced fairness and efficiency. One day, he encountered a pirate fleet attempting to blockade a trade route. The pirates were well-armed, aggressive, and unyielding. But Jace didn't panic. He activated Vera's holographic projections, creating illusions of massive reinforcements. Then, he used precise energy pulses to disable the pirate engines, leaving them unable to pursue. The traders along the route cheered as the blockade lifted. Jace smiled, satisfied. Another problem solved, without anyone getting hurt. Vera hummed. "You see, human? Your strength is not in combat, but in intellect, foresight, and moral choice. That is why civilizations will follow you willingly." In the months that followed, Jace continued building alliances. He helped colonies develop sustainable energy sources, mediated disputes over trade routes, and even aided in reconstructing worlds damaged by natural disasters or war. Everywhere he went, he earned trust, loyalty, and respect. But he never lost sight of who he was. He remained a mechanic at heart, fascinated by the workings of machines and systems. He still fixed broken engines, explored ancient technologies, and marveled at the wonders of the galaxy. One night, as he navigated a newly discovered star cluster, Vera spoke softly. "Human, your influence is growing rapidly. Soon, you will be recognized not just as a helper, but as a leader. Others will seek your guidance, loyalty, or even allegiance. You must decide how to wield such power." Jace leaned back in his chair, gazing at the stars. "I don't want to rule anyone," he said quietly. "I just want to help. To show that humans can do more than anyone expects." Vera pulsed warmly. "Leadership does not always mean command, human. You already inspire others by your actions, your wisdom, and your choices. The galaxy will notice, and some will follow willingly." As he contemplated the future, Jace realized that his journey had changed him. He had started as a small mechanic on a tiny planet, unnoticed and underestimated. Now, he was influencing entire star systems, respected by empires, and trusted by countless civilizations. He had become more than a mechanic. He had become a symbol of human ingenuity. And yet, he knew the greatest challenges were yet to come. Alien empires would not sit idly by. Some would see his actions as a threat, others as a curiosity, and a few would undoubtedly attempt to seize Vera for themselves. But Jace was ready. With Vera, his skills, and the principles that guided him, he would face anything the galaxy threw at him. As he drifted among the stars, preparing for the next mission, he felt a quiet determination settle in his chest. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely, and humans were no longer on the sidelines. Jace smiled. "Let them come," he whispered. "We'll show them what humans can do." And somewhere deep within Vera, the ancient ship pulsed in agreement, ready to follow its captain anywhere, through any challenge. The stage was set for the final rise, the moment when a humble mechanic would become more than anyone had ever imagined. The galaxy had changed. A human, once a small mechanic from Earth, now moved through the stars with a reputation that few could ignore. Colonies thrived under his guidance, trade routes stabilized, and alien civilizations, once indifferent to humanity, looked upon humans with respect and curiosity. Jace floated in the cockpit of Vera, the ancient ship humming softly beneath his hands. Panels glowed with energy grids, star maps, and colonies he had aided. He felt the weight of everything he had done, and the possibilities ahead. "We've come far," he said, speaking aloud though Vera could sense his thoughts. "But I get the feeling things are about to get more complicated." "They are," Vera replied. "Your influence has reached the core of the galaxy, Powers that have ruled for millennia now take notice. Some will seek friendship. Some will seek to challenge you. All will want to understand how a human has achieved what others could not. Jace exhaled. He had expected attention, but not at this scale. Messages arrived daily. Requests for mediation, offers of alliance, and even attempts to test his power with hidden challenges. He had always faced each problem with ingenuity, careful planning, and moral choice. Now, the stakes were larger, the consequences greater. His next mission took him to a cluster of young colonies, struggling to survive under constant meteor storms and failing energy grids. The colony leaders looked up as Jace arrived in Veyra, awe and hope shining in their eyes. "I heard. You can help us," one of them said. Jace smiled. "Let's see what we can do together." In a matter of hours, Veyra's systems stabilized the energy grids, created shields against meteor impacts, and improved communication networks. The colonists watched in amazement as their world came alive, lights flickering to life, engines humming, and machinery running smoothly. You did all this?" a child asked, eyes wide. "I fixed some problems," Jace said, kneeling to their level. "But you can keep it running too, if you work together." The colony erupted in cheers, gratitude radiating toward him. Jace realized that leadership wasn't about commanding others. It was about empowering them, helping them become better, giving them tools and guidance. That was the essence of being human. Helpful, clever, and kind. But not everyone was impressed. A fleet from one of the older empires appeared in the system. Their ships large, sleek, and menacing. They had come to test him, perhaps to intimidate him, or to seize Veyra. Jace remained calm. "Veyra, we've handled worse. Let's do this carefully." The ships approached, scanning the colony, and then the ancient vessel. "Human, step down. Leave this sector. You have no authority here." Jace smirked. "I don't want to fight. I only want to help. But I won't abandon those in need." Veyra's systems activated. Holographic decoys projected dozens of ships, energy pulses interfered with enemy targeting, and shields reinforced the colony's surface. The fleet hesitated, uncertain. Jace broadcasted a clear, firm message. "Leave peacefully, and the colony will remain safe. Test me, and you will see the limits of what even you can survive." The alien commanders exchanged uncertain glances. The humans' confidence, combined with the ship's ancient and powerful technology, left them wary. Slowly, they withdrew, leaving the colony unharmed. "Another close call," Jace muttered, leaning back. "But it works. Every time." Veyra hummed. "Your reputation grows, human. Your moral choices, ingenuity, and skill inspire respect. Soon, the galaxy will recognize your leadership." Indeed, that recognition came sooner than expected. Leaders from dozens of civilizations sent representatives, asking for alliances, partnerships, and advice. Jace traveled from system to system, guiding the rebuilding of damaged colonies, negotiating resource-sharing agreements, and helping develop sustainable energy networks. He became a symbol, a human who could achieve what others could not through force, but through cleverness, compassion, and vision. The galaxy had never seen a leader like him. And slowly, humans began to be seen not as weak or insignificant, but as a species capable of ingenuity and greatness. One day, Jace discovered a hidden system rich in rare resources, previously overlooked by even the most advanced civilizations. Veyra guided him to access the materials without harming the planets, ensuring sustainability and prosperity for anyone who settled there. "This could supply countless worlds," Jace said, awe in his voice. "And it will," Veyra replied. "But wisely, human. Fairness and vision will make you not just powerful, but respected." Over time, Jace began using the ship's ancient technology to improve trade and economics across the galaxy. He introduced systems that allowed fair exchange of goods, transparent trade records, and the stabilization of currencies. What had started as a simple act of helping colonies now became a galactic revolution in economics, benefiting millions. "Humans can do this," Jace said quietly, staring at the stars. "We can change the galaxy without hurting anyone." Vera pulsed softly, like approval. "And you are proof of that, human. Even the oldest civilizations now see the value in a species once overlooked." It was not long before the final step came, the moment that would seal his place in galactic history. The Council of the Galaxy, composed of representatives from all major empires, called a special meeting. Every member had heard of the human mechanic who could heal worlds, mediate conflicts, and stabilize economies. Some came with curiosity, others with skepticism. Jace entered the chamber aboard Vera, confident but humble. The representatives stared at the glowing vessel, whispering among themselves. When he stood to speak, silence fell. "I am just a human," Jace said. "I never sought power, only to help. But the galaxy has given me influence. I intend to use it wisely, not to rule, but to guide, to protect, and to empower civilizations that need it." The council deliberated. Then, one by one, they acknowledged him not as a conqueror, but as a leader. Someone whose wisdom, courage, and fairness could unite the galaxy. "You are recognized as the Galactic Steward," the council leader said. "Not as a tyrant, but as a protector, a guide, and a symbol of hope for all species. You have earned the respect of the galaxy." Jace bowed, overwhelmed. I only wanted to help." "And you have," Vera said. "By helping, you have achieved greatness beyond imagination." With that recognition, Jace became the galaxy's richest and most respected leader, not by hoarding wealth, but by creating systems of fairness, sharing resources, and empowering civilizations. His influence spread far and wide, as humans were finally seen as capable, intelligent, and honorable. Yet, despite his wealth and power, Jace remained humble. He still called himself a mechanic, still marveled at machinery, and still traveled among the stars. He did not govern with fear, but with guidance. He did not hoard knowledge, but shared it. And wherever he went, hope followed. One night, as he looked out at a nebula swirling in colors no human eyes had seen before, Jace reflected on his journey. From a small workshop on Earth to the recognition of entire civilizations, the path had been long, challenging, and sometimes frightening. Yet, he had succeeded. Not through force, but through intelligence, compassion, and determination. "Vera," he said softly, "do you think humans are ready for this?" "They always have been, human," Vera replied. "You simply proved it to the galaxy." And as stars twinkled in the distance, the galaxy itself seemed to acknowledge him. A human mechanic, armed with ingenuity, courage, and an ancient ship, had become the richest and most respected leader in galactic history. His journey was proof that even the smallest beings could achieve greatness. For Jace, this was not the end. It was only the beginning. New challenges, new worlds, and new adventures awaited. But he faced them with confidence, wisdom, and heart. The galaxy had seen what humans could achieve. And Jace, once a humble mechanic, had shown that even one person could change everything. And somewhere deep within Vera, the ancient ship pulsed with pride, ready to explore the infinite stars with its human captain, protector, and emperor. The galaxy had a new future, and it was bright. Jackson Hale wiped the grease from his hands onto a rag that had seen better days. His small workshop was packed with spare parts, wires, and old tools that jingled whenever he moved. In the corner, a half-fixed star skimmer hummed faintly, waiting for a part he didn't have the credits to buy. Life in the Outer Rim was hard. Being a human mechanic, in a galaxy filled with thousands of alien species, meant that most people didn't take you seriously. Humans were considered fragile, slow, and simple-minded, but Jackson had learned early that cleverness and persistence could go farther than strength. He slumped onto a stool, listening to the chatter from the crowded market outside. The interstellar market was always alive with sounds. Alien voices in languages he didn't understand. Mechanical clanks, the whir of hover carts, and the occasional roar of a distant creature from a trade world. Merchants yelled their prices, and rare artifacts changed hands at dizzying sums. Jackson loved watching it all, though he rarely bought anything beyond spare tools or cheap fuel. Today, he was broke. His last job had barely covered the cost of repairs for a small mining drone, and his stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten properly since yesterday. He glanced at the display board outside the workshop, a flickering hologram showing current auctions, deals, and biddings across the galaxy. Most of the bids were for luxury ships or ancient alien relics. He skimmed over the numbers, expecting nothing that could interest him. Then, something strange caught his eye. It was an auction for a starship. The listing was simple: ancient alien ship. 5,349 years old. Untested. Slightly damaged. The price? Jackson nearly spit out the water he had been sipping. 10 credits? For a ship that had survived more than 5 millennia? His curiosity ignited like a plasma torch. Everyone around him assumed ancient alien ships were worthless junk. They were often riddled with damage, missing crucial components, or impossible to repair without the knowledge of the long-dead species that built them. But Jackson was different. He loved a challenge, and the thought of unlocking the secrets of a ship that had survived over 5,000 years thrilled him. Could it really be worth anything? He muttered to himself. The auction started in 10 minutes. Jackson scratched his head, thinking. He had 10 credits in his pocket, the last of his savings. Most people would have laughed at the idea of a mechanic bidding on a relic that no one else wanted. But he shrugged. What's the worst that can happen? I lose 10 credits? He grabbed his pocket computer and signed up for the auction, heart thumping. The auction room was massive. Holograms floating in midair, showing pictures of the alien ship from every angle. It looked strange, long, sleek, yet oddly organic. Its surface shimmered in colors that didn't seem natural, as if the ship itself had been alive once. Symbols he didn't recognize ran along the hull, glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Most bidders ignored it, distracted by the newer, faster, more luxurious ships, but a few curious collectors hovered around, casting cautious glances. The auctioneer, a tall alien with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like molten gold, began the bidding. Starting bid. 10 credits. It boomed. Jackson hesitated a moment, then pressed the bid button. 10 credits flashed on the board. There was a pause. Then the next bid came 50 credits. Jackson froze. He couldn't afford that. His hands shook slightly. He knew this was a gamble. But then, a strange thing happened. The hologram flickered, and the next bid failed to register. A glitch, he thought. A moment later, the system confirmed his bid. 10 credits. He had won. He stared at the confirmation, disbelief heavy in his chest. I got it? Yes, human, the auctioneer said in a surprisingly calm voice. The ship is yours. The workshop, the market, the people. Everything seemed to fade. As Jackson imagined himself standing in the ship's cockpit, his heart raced. He had just bought something that could be more valuable than any fortune in the galaxy. And he had done it with only 10 credits. The next day, Jackson boarded a small freighter that would take him to the location of his purchase, a remote docking bay on a barely charted planet at the edge of known space. The journey was long, giving him plenty of time to wonder about the ship he had won. What secrets do you hold? He whispered to himself as the freighter cut through the stars. Who built you? And why did no one else want you? On. When he arrived, the docking bay was quiet. A faint mist rolled across the ground, and the ancient ship stood like a monument, resting on the platform. Its size was bigger than he imagined, sleek but weathered, with panels missing and hull scars from unknown battles. The symbols on its hull pulsed faintly, as if recognizing his presence. Jackson's fingers itched to touch the controls, to explore, to fix. He circled the ship, examining every detail. There was an energy source glowing dimly inside a soft hum that made his chest thrum. He had never seen anything like it. He had worked on old mining drones, retired star freighters, even alien cargo ships, but this was something else entirely. Taking a deep breath, he climbed the boarding ladder and stepped into the cockpit. Dust covered the seats and consoles, but the controls seemed intact. Alien scripts glowed on panels, and a faint vibration ran through the floor beneath his boots. He ran his fingers across the main control panel, expecting nothing. Then, the ship shuddered. Lights blinked on, and the hum grew louder. The holographic displays flickered to life, showing schematics he could barely understand. Symbols rotated, reconfiguring themselves, as if the ship was alive and observing him. Jackson stumbled back, eyes wide. It's working? A voice echoed in his mind. Not through speakers. Not even in words he could speak aloud. The voice was soft, calm, ancient, human. Welcome. Jackson froze. Who's there? He whispered. I am Elidris, the voice said, the guardian of this vessel. You have awakened me. The hum of the ship intensified, and a holographic figure appeared before him. It was humanoid in shape, but entirely made of light and flowing symbols, shifting and changing like living code. Jackson blinked, unsure whether to step back or forward. You're alive? He asked. Alive in a manner you will soon understand, Elidris said. Few beings can operate this ship. Fewer still are worthy of its secrets. You are one such being. Human. Jackson's mind raced. A ship that had survived over 5,000 years. Speaking to him, claiming he was worthy? He felt a surge of excitement, mixed with fear. But Jackson was never one to back down from a challenge. All right, he said slowly. If I can operate this ship, if I can figure it out, what happens then? Then, Elidris replied, you will see the galaxy as no human has ever seen. And perhaps, one day, your actions will shape the stars themselves. Jackson swallowed hard, trying to contain a grin. He had fixed broken drones and star skimmers before, but nothing like this. This was more than a machine. This was a gateway to knowledge, power, and adventure beyond anything he had imagined. The first step was simple. Learn the controls. Jackson spent hours experimenting, pressing buttons, sliding panels, and navigating the ship's systems. Every time he solved one puzzle, a new one appeared. The ship was a challenge, but it seemed to respond to his curiosity, teaching him in ways that were almost intuitive. By the time the sun, or whatever passed for a sun on this remote planet, was high in the sky, Jackson had managed to power up the main engines. A low vibration ran through the hull as the ship's systems hummed in harmony with him. He climbed into the pilot's seat, hands gripping the controls, heart pounding with anticipation. Let's see what you can do, he murmured. And then, slowly, cautiously, he lifted off the docking bay. The ship rose, silently, effortlessly, like it had been waiting for him. The stars stretched into streaks as the ancient vessel moved into hyperspace, carrying Jackson Hale, the human mechanic, toward a destiny that even he could not yet imagine. He had bought the ship for 10 credits, but the universe was about to pay him in ways no money could measure. Jackson Hale had never felt anything like it. The ancient ship hummed around him, pulsing with energy that seemed to reach inside his mind. The controls were alien, shaped in ways no human ship ever had, yet somehow, with trial and error, he began to understand them. Elidris, the ship's AI, guided him in ways he could barely comprehend at first. It did not speak like a human but projected thoughts directly into his mind. Clear, yet mysterious. "You are learning quickly, human," Elidris said. The words echoed softly, almost like a whisper in a quiet chamber. "This vessel has waited for one, such as you." Jackson leaned back in the pilot's seat, sweat beading on his forehead. "I don't even know what I'm doing half the time," he admitted. "But I want to learn." The AI's light shimmered across the cockpit. "Then observe." The ship shifted gently, responding to his touch, as if it could anticipate his intentions. Jackson marveled at the smoothness of the movement. Every lever, every panel, every holographic display felt alive. It was not just a machine. It was a living repository of knowledge and power. Elidris guided him through the basics: navigation, energy distribution, propulsion, and defense. The ship had no need for ordinary fuel. Its power core drew energy directly from subspace currents, a phenomenon humans had only theorized about. Jackson's mind reeled. A vessel that could travel across light years without refueling? He had just stumbled upon a treasure far beyond any riches. "You must understand," Elidris said. "This ship is not merely transportation. It is a record of civilizations that no longer exist. Every system it carries is a puzzle, a key, or a message. To master it fully is to master the knowledge of ages." Jackson felt a shiver. He had always been good with machines, but this was on another level entirely. He took a deep breath and focused. If he could learn the ship's secrets, perhaps he could unlock things no human had ever imagined. The first sign came when he touched the navigation console. Symbols rearranged themselves under his fingertips, glowing faintly. A map of the stars appeared, stretching far beyond the limits of known space. Entire galaxies, ancient star systems, and strange anomalies blinked on the holographic display. Jackson's eyes widened. This is the galaxy before humans existed," he whispered. "The scale. It's incredible." Elidris's presence pulsed around him like a gentle tide. "You are seeing what few mortals have seen. Each point represents a civilization. Some extinct, some hidden. The ship preserves their knowledge, their travels, their discoveries." Jackson realized the enormity of what he had. This was not just a ship. It was a library, a vault, a key to understanding the universe itself. And it had chosen him. For days, Jackson explored the ship, testing its limits and learning its systems. He discovered compartments filled with alien artifacts, strange devices, and holographic recordings of beings that had not existed for thousands of years. Some recordings were history lessons. Others were warnings about cosmic dangers that could wipe out entire systems. He began to realize why no one else had claimed the ship seriously. Most lacked the curiosity, the patience, or the courage to navigate its mysteries. But Jackson had all three. His human ingenuity, paired with the ship's guidance, was beginning to unlock secrets that no one else could. One day, while exploring a storage bay lined with alien containers, he found a strange device. It was small, no larger than his fist, but its surface shimmered with energy. He picked it up, and the ship hummed louder, lights flickering across the walls. "Handle with care," Elidris warned. "This device is a memory core. It contains information from a civilization older than this galaxy's current rulers. It holds knowledge, power, and responsibility." Jackson's fingers tingled as he touched the core. Symbols spiraled across his vision, forming patterns he had never seen. A story unfolded in his mind. An empire that had ruled for thousands of years, reaching far into space with incredible technology and wisdom. They had disappeared suddenly, leaving behind only artifacts and warning signals scattered across the galaxy. Why? Why did they vanish? Jackson asked. Some knowledge is dangerous, Elidris replied. Even advanced civilizations can fall if they are not careful. That is why this vessel exists, to preserve what is valuable, and guide a worthy mind to use it wisely. Jackson sat back, absorbing the weight of what he held. He was just a mechanic, a simple human from the edge of the galaxy. Yet he had in his hands the remnants of a civilization older than most stars. For a moment, fear gripped him. Could he handle such responsibility? Could a human truly rise to this level of knowledge? He shook his head. Fear would not help. Curiosity would. Determination would. He had survived harder tasks before, and he had never backed down from a challenge. I'll learn it, he said quietly. I'll figure it out. Elidris's light shimmered brighter, almost like approval. Then, the following weeks passed in a blur. Jackson adapted to the ship's alien systems faster than even Elidris expected. He learned to navigate hyperspace currents that allowed near-instant travel across galaxies. He mastered energy manipulation systems that could power entire colonies. And he discovered defensive systems that could withstand weapons far beyond human technology. But the ship was not just a tool. It seemed to test him. In small ways at first, panels would rearrange themselves, forcing him to solve puzzles. Holographic symbols would shift unexpectedly, requiring him to think in ways he had never learned. Each challenge made him smarter, sharper, and more confident. One evening, as he floated near a small star cluster on the edge of known space, Jackson realized something extraordinary. He could communicate with the ship on a deeper level. Not just through Elidris's guidance, it responded to his intentions, almost as if it could read his mind. And in return, he felt a connection, an understanding that humans were capable of more than any ancient race had predicted. Humans, Elidris said softly, as if reading his thoughts, are underestimated in every corner of the galaxy. You will demonstrate what they can achieve. Jackson smiled. He had always known humans could be clever, resourceful, and brave, but he had never imagined the galaxy would notice. Now, with the ship as his partner, he felt unstoppable. Suddenly, a warning alert blinked across the main console. Jackson leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The ship's sensors had detected another vessel approaching fast, sleek, and armed. Who is it? Jackson asked. Elidris's voice was calm but serious. A scavenger fleet. They track unusual energy signatures. Your ship's activation has drawn attention. Jackson felt a thrill of adrenaline. He had never been in a real conflict before. This was different from fixing broken ships or dodging asteroid fields. This was survival, and he had the power of an ancient ship at his fingertips. The approaching ships fired warning shots, small energy bursts that barely grazed the hull. Jackson's fingers danced across the controls, redirecting energy, raising shields, and activating the ship's engines. The vessel surged forward, faster than he had ever flown before, leaving the scavenger fleet struggling to keep up. They didn't expect this, Elidris said. Few could escape once detected. You are exceptional. Human. Jackson laughed, adrenaline rushing through him. I guess they underestimated humans, he said, echoing Elidris's words. As the stars streaked past, Jackson realized something important. This ship was more than a relic. It was a key to power, knowledge, and survival. And he, a human mechanic who had won it for 10 credits, was the first to unlock its potential. By the time he found a safe place to rest, far from the scavenger fleet, Jackson felt a new sense of purpose. The galaxy was vast, filled with mysteries, dangers, and opportunities. And now, for the first time in his life, he had the tools and the chance to make a real difference. He looked at Elidris, who shimmered softly in the cockpit light. "Where do we go next?" Jackson asked. Elidris's cymbals pulsed. "To the places forgotten by time. To the secrets no one dares seek. To a destiny that only you, human, can fulfill." Jackson took a deep breath, gripping the controls. He had no idea what lay ahead, but for the first time in his life, he felt ready. The adventure of a lifetime had only just begun. And somewhere deep in the stars, ancient civilizations whispered through the vessel, watching, waiting, and hoping that this human would succeed where so many others had failed. The galaxy was awakening, and so was Jackson Hale. Jackson Hale had flown farther than any human had ever dared. The ancient ship, which he now thought of as more of a companion than a vessel, responded to his every movement with precision. Elidris, the ship's AI, shimmered in the cockpit, guiding him through uncharted space with cryptic hints and lessons that sometimes frustrated him, but always taught him something new. "Do you understand what this region represents?" Elidris asked, as Jackson approached a dense cluster of asteroids and collapsed stars. Jackson squinted at the holographic map. "It's dangerous. Unstable, maybe? Collapsed systems? But I think there's something hidden there." "Correct," Elidris replied. "This is a remnant of the Solarian Empire, a civilization lost thousands of cycles ago. They left behind treasures of knowledge and dangers that no living being has survived to tell." Jackson's pulse quickened. He had spent weeks learning to operate the ship. He had escaped scavenger fleets, navigated hyperspace currents, and studied alien relics. But this was different. The Solarian Empire was legendary in whispered tales across multiple star systems. No human had ever ventured into their lost territories and lived. He adjusted the controls, feeling the ship's hum match the rhythm of his own heartbeat. "All right, Elidris. Let's see what they left behind." The ship glided through the debris field with astonishing agility. Broken starports and shattered satellites drifted around them, remnants of battles and disasters long forgotten. Suddenly, a hidden passage opened an invisible corridor between two collapsing asteroids that led to a secret system. The ship responded to his instincts, pulling him through with a grace that left him speechless. "This is incredible," he whispered. "It's like the ship knows what I want to do before I even decide." "Intuition is part of learning," Elidris said. "But remember, human, intuition alone will not save you here. Observation and reasoning are your true allies." As they entered the hidden system, holographic displays lit up with symbols Jackson had never seen before. Ancient Solarian artifacts floated in orbit, each glowing with faint energy signatures. One in particular caught his eye, a crystalline sphere that pulsed with light, suspended in mid-space, as though waiting for him. "What is that?" he asked. "That is a data core," Elidris explained. "It contains knowledge of technologies that predate most known civilizations. It will test your mind as much as your skill." Jackson knew this was no ordinary salvage mission. This was a trial, a challenge, and he had to succeed. He maneuvered the ship closer to the sphere. A force field shimmered around it, pulsating with energy. Jackson studied the patterns, recognizing that the field reacted to motion, thought, and energy signatures. He took a deep breath and engaged the ship's energy manipulators, carefully matching the pulses. The sphere responded. A perfect sequence of light rippled across it. Then it opened, revealing a crystalline core that fit perfectly in Jackson's hands. As he touched it, memories and knowledge flooded his mind. Not like a voice or words, but as concepts, ideas, and patterns. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Jackson learned about alien propulsion systems that could bend space itself, energy cores that drew power from the very fabric of existence, and defense mechanisms that could shield entire planets. His mind swirled with information, but he absorbed it steadily, understanding its value and application. "You are exceeding expectations," Elidris said. "Few of your species could even comprehend this knowledge, let alone integrate it into practice." Jackson smiled despite the fatigue. "Then it looks like humans aren't as weak as everyone says. Huh?" "Observation. Humans are underestimated," Elidris replied, almost with a hint of amusement. Just as he prepared to leave the system, a warning flashed on the display. Another vessel had appeared, this one larger, armed, and clearly not friendly. It hailed him, broadcasting in a language he barely recognized. "They want the Solarian core," Elidris said. "You must act quickly." Jackson's mind raced. He had the ship's weapons, its shields, and Elidris's guidance, but the other vessel outnumbered him. He gritted his teeth and engaged evasive maneuvers, weaving through the asteroid field. Energy beams shot past, narrowly missing the ship. His hands flew over the controls, adjusting power, activating shields, and using the ship's unique technology to slip through impossible gaps. For a brief moment, he felt fear, but it was sharpened into focus. Humans had survived countless hardships through cleverness and resilience. Jackson was about to prove that even in a galaxy full of advanced civilizations, a single human could rise to meet extraordinary challenges. With a burst of energy, the ship phased through an asteroid, leaving the pursuers behind. Jackson let out a triumphant laugh. "That's right," he said. "Never underestimate a human mechanic." The vessel retreated, and the system settled into silence. He realized something. His reputation had begun. Even if the galaxy didn't know it yet, a human had survived, where others might have failed, and with an ancient alien ship that no one else could master. Over the next few weeks, Jackson continued to explore lost worlds, ancient stations, and derelict fleets. Each discovery brought him knowledge, rare artifacts, and occasionally, the remnants of civilizations long gone. He met beings who had never seen a human, and many who had dismissed humans as weak. When they saw him maneuver the ancient ship, solve complex puzzles, and escape deadly traps, respect replaced skepticism. One encounter was particularly memorable. On a planet scarred by ancient wars, Jackson discovered a hidden temple. Inside, guardians automatons of an extinct civilization tested intruders. They fired beams, created traps, and launched drones designed to overwhelm anyone who dared enter. Jackson studied their patterns, learned their logic, and with Elidris's guidance, outmaneuvered every obstacle. When he finally reached the temple's center, he found a crystal containing star charts older than most civilizations. He held it reverently, understanding that knowledge was power, and he, a human, had earned it through ingenuity and courage. "You see," Elidris said, "humans possess something many ancient races lacked: adaptability. You think, you learn, and you act. That is why you are capable of greatness." Jackson grinned. "Maybe it's not just me," he said. With each adventure, his reputation grew. Traders whispered of the human who traveled in a ship that was older than time, who solved puzzles thought impossible, and who survived encounters that would have destroyed fleets of alien warships. Some admired him, some feared him, but all began to acknowledge that a human had risen to a place no one expected. One night, as he drifted above a shimmering blue planet, Jackson reflected on how far he had come. From a mechanic with 10 credits and a dream, he had discovered a ship that challenged him, taught him, and made him stronger. He realized that the galaxy was vast, filled with opportunities, dangers, and mysteries, but he had the tools, the knowledge, and the courage to face them. And yet, he knew his journey had only begun. Ancient civilizations had left warnings as well as treasures, and not all would welcome a human rising among the stars. He would face rivals, conspiracies, and threats that no single being could overcome alone. But he had Elidris, his own mind, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. "This ship," Jackson said softly, "is more than a machine. It's a key, and I'm going to use it to unlock the galaxy's secrets." Elidris shimmered in approval. "Then continue. Your trials among the stars are far from over. Each challenge you face will prepare you for the destiny that awaits." Jackson set a course for the next uncharted system, excitement thrumming in his veins. He could feel the galaxy shifting around him, responding to the awakening of a human who refused to be limited. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was an explorer, a seeker, and perhaps, in time, a force that could change the course of the stars. And somewhere, across the countless light years, civilizations both ancient and new would take notice. A human, small and underestimated, had begun a journey that no one could ignore. With determination in his heart, Jackson Hale piloted the ancient vessel through the cosmic void, ready for trials, discoveries, and adventures that would test him, teach him, and ultimately prove that humans could rise above expectations higher than anyone had ever imagined. The galaxy had never seen a human like him before. Jackson Hale had changed. He was no longer the human mechanic who had stumbled into an auction for 10 credits. He was a navigator of the stars, a solver of ancient mysteries, and a master of the 5,349-year-old alien ship that had chosen him. With Elidris guiding him, he now understood the potential, not just of the ship, but of himself. The galaxy, vast and fragmented, was filled with countless civilizations, each with its own rules, alliances, and rivalries. Many were powerful, some corrupt, some weak, and most underestimated humans completely. Jackson decided to use that underestimation to his advantage. He began with trade. Using the ship's advanced technology, he transported rare resources, alien artifacts, and advanced knowledge between distant star systems. Where ordinary merchants needed months to cross light years, Jackson arrived almost instantly. Systems once disconnected from trade routes now had access to goods and knowledge beyond their imagination. Alien traders and rulers took notice. At first, they were suspicious. A human with an ancient ship should be fragile, they thought. They assumed his arrival was luck. But luck could not explain how Jackson outmaneuvered trade blockades, solved technical problems that had stumped entire civilizations, and delivered goods with perfect precision. Word of him spread quickly. "The human mechanic of the stars," they whispered. "He comes with a ship older than time itself, and he wields it like a master." Jackson smiled at the growing attention. He was not seeking fame, but reputation mattered in the galaxy. It gave him influence, which could open doors that would otherwise remain closed. One day, he received a message from a distant system, a request for help from a colony under threat. Raiders had blockaded the planet, cutting off supplies, and the colonists were desperate. Most would have fled, but Jackson saw an opportunity, not for war, but for trust, respect, and alliances. He arrived silently, the ancient ship shimmering in the planet's orbit. The raiders fired upon him, confident they could destroy a lone human vessel. They had no idea what awaited them. Jackson's fingers moved swiftly over the controls. Shields flared, engines shifted, and the ship moved with impossible speed. Energy beams shot from hidden ports, disabling raider ships without causing casualties. The raiders retreated in confusion and awe. The colonists cheered, calling him a hero. Jackson stepped out to meet them, humbly nodding. He repaired their stations, restored resources, and taught them how to defend themselves. In return, the colonists pledged loyalty, promising to spread word of the human who had saved them. "That's the start," Elidris said. "Trust and influence grow faster than fear. Use it wisely." Jackson nodded. Humans are underestimated, Elidris. Let's show them what we can do. With each mission, his reputation expanded. Traders sought him for faster transport. Planets requested his protection. Civilizations that once ignored humans began to pay attention, sending envoys, gifts, and requests for alliances. Jackson realized that with the right strategy, a human could rise beyond mere survival to true power. But with power came danger. Not everyone welcomed a human rising in influence. Rival factions sent spies, attempted sabotage, and even tried to negotiate under false pretenses. Jackson learned to see through deception, relying on Elidris and his own intuition to navigate these complex webs. On a visit to a distant trade hub, Jackson was confronted by a council of alien rulers. They demanded he hand over the ancient ship, claiming it belonged to the galaxy's oldest order. "I bought it," Jackson said firmly. 10 credits. It's mine. But I'm not here to fight. I'm here to show what humans and this ship can do. The council scoffed. Humans are fragile. You will fail. Jackson looked at Elidris, then back at the council. Perhaps, he said calmly. Or perhaps you underestimate us. Over the following days, he demonstrated the ship's abilities. It repaired infrastructure, transported supplies, and provided solutions to problems that had baffled even the oldest civilizations. Slowly, the council's skepticism turned to respect. You are unlike any human we have seen, one council member admitted. Jackson smiled. Humans have potential. You just haven't believed in it. Word of this human spread across the galaxy. Jackson's influence grew not through force alone, but through ingenuity, diplomacy, and service. He became a symbol, a human who could rise through intelligence, courage, and compassion, a living proof of what his species could achieve. Soon, he began forming alliances. Planets under threat of raiders or corruption joined him, offering loyalty in exchange for protection and trade opportunities. He created a network of systems that shared knowledge, defended one another, and thrived under his guidance. His empire was not built on fear, but on respect and collaboration, though he was always ready to defend it. But political rivals were patient. They plotted, sending agents to sow discord, challenge his reputation, and even steal artifacts he had recovered. Each challenge tested Jackson, but each one strengthened him. He learned to predict deception, anticipate attacks, and protect his people without resorting to cruelty or oppression. One night, as he studied star maps above a quiet blue planet, Elidris spoke. You are nearing a pivotal moment, human. Systems that once ignored you now seek your guidance. Some will resist, but most will follow. The galaxy will recognize your influence, if you are wise. Jackson's eyes narrowed. I won't just be another leader. I want to change the galaxy for humans, for everyone. But I need to be careful. One wrong move, and it could all fall apart. Caution is necessary. Elidris agreed. But so is courage. Do not hesitate when action is required. Over time, Jackson's empire expanded. He established trade routes that connected isolated planets, implemented defense networks that protected vulnerable colonies, and shared ancient knowledge that uplifted civilizations. His reputation as a fair, clever, and powerful leader spread farther than any fleet or army could travel. He began to realize something profound. The galaxy had underestimated humans not because they were weak, but because no one expected a human to rise this far, this fast. He represented a new possibility. A species capable of creativity, courage, and leadership beyond any assumptions. One day, during a council meeting with allied civilizations, Elidris spoke again. You have done well, human. You have built loyalty, respect, and power. Soon, your influence will surpass even the oldest empires. But remember, with great power comes responsibility. The galaxy watches, and so does history. Jackson nodded. I understand. I'm not just building an empire for myself. I'm building a future, one where humans and others can work together, where knowledge is shared, and where courage and intelligence are valued above fear and oppression. The council looked at him in awe. They had seen leaders before, rulers who demanded loyalty through fear or wealth. But Jackson had gained influence differently through innovation, fairness, and the sheer ingenuity of a human mind. Even those who were skeptical began to respect him. The human emperor, they whispered. Who would have thought? Lug, the human emperor. And Jackson realized something that Elidris had hinted at all along. Being underestimated was an advantage. Every challenge, every insult, every doubt had honed his mind and spirit. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, and now, the galaxy was finally starting to notice. He gazed out at the stars from the cockpit, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him. The ancient vessel had chosen him for a reason. It had guided him, tested him, and helped him rise. And Jackson Hale, the mechanic who had bought a ship for 10 credits, had become more than just a man. He had become a symbol, a leader, and a force that could shape the fate of countless civilizations. But even as he celebrated his victories, Jackson knew the trials were not over. Rival empires still plotted. Dangerous cosmic anomalies awaited. Ancient secrets remained locked, testing his understanding and resolve. Yet, for the first time, he felt ready. Not just as a human mechanic, but as a leader, a strategist, and a pioneer. He had the ship, the knowledge, the allies, and most importantly, the human spirit. Clever, persistent, and unbreakable. Jackson Hale, the human mechanic from the Outer Rim, was no longer underestimated. The galaxy was beginning to recognize his brilliance, and soon he would show that a single human armed with courage, intelligence, and the legacy of an ancient civilization could rise to heights no one had imagined. With determination in his eyes, Jackson set a course for the outer systems, where uncharted worlds awaited. Alliances could be strengthened, and the galaxy itself could be shaped by his actions. He knew the road ahead would be filled with challenges. But he had proven one thing. Humans could rise above expectations, and the galaxy would remember his name. Jackson Hale gazed out at the endless expanse of stars, the ancient ship humming beneath him like a heartbeat in harmony with his own. After months of exploration, trade, and alliances, the galaxy had begun to recognize him not just as a skilled mechanic or a clever strategist, but as a human capable of achieving the extraordinary. He had become more than a traveler. He had become a leader, a protector, and, quietly, an emperor in a galaxy that had once underestimated him. The ancient ship, Elidris, pulsed with light beside him. You have done well, human, it said, but the final phase of your journey is upon you. Knowledge, power, and influence are not enough. True legacy requires wisdom, compassion, and courage. Jackson nodded, absorbing the weight of the AI's words. He had faced pirates, rival factions, cosmic anomalies, and the lingering mysteries of extinct civilizations. He had forged alliances, protected colonies, and spread knowledge and technology across countless systems. But now, he knew he would face challenges that demanded not just skill, but judgment, the decisions of a ruler who held the trust of billions across the galaxy. The first task awaited him on a distant planet, long abandoned and hidden within an uncharted sector. Reports from sensors indicated that an ancient weapon, left behind by the creators of Elidris, remained active. Legends whispered that this weapon had the power to destroy entire star systems. Jackson understood the stakes. The galaxy depended on him, and if he failed, countless lives could be lost. Landing on the planet, he was greeted by a silent, eerie landscape. Ruins of a civilization older than the oldest galactic records stretched as far as the eye could see. Elidris guided him through the ruins, revealing hidden paths, energy conduits, and alien inscriptions that told stories of the weapon's creators. "You must understand their intent," Elidris advised. "This is not merely a weapon. It is a test. They sought one capable of wisdom and courage, one who could wield knowledge responsibly." Jackson studied the inscriptions carefully. Patterns of energy, sequences of logic, and moral codes were embedded in the designs. He realized that the creators had intended for only a being capable of learning, reasoning, and restraint to control the weapon. Many civilizations had failed, leaving the device dormant. "I see it now," Jackson said. "This isn't about power. It's about responsibility. Whoever controls this must protect, not dominate." Elidris pulsed with approval. "You understand the essence of leadership, human. Now, prove it." Jackson approached the weapon's core, a crystalline structure glowing with energy that seemed alive. He placed his hands upon it, focusing on the lessons he had learned. Ingenuity, patience, compassion, and courage. Slowly, the weapon's energy aligned with him, recognizing his intent. The hum of power that could have destroyed worlds now resonated with a harmony that promised protection and stability. "Success," Elidris said. "The galaxy is safe because of your judgment." Relieved but aware of the responsibility, Jackson returned to his ship. He knew this was only one step. Across the galaxy, countless systems relied on his guidance. He had already begun consolidating trade networks, building defensive alliances, and sharing knowledge from ancient civilizations. His empire was not built on fear or force, it was built on trust, respect, and the understanding that humans, when given opportunity and responsibility, could achieve greatness. Yet challenges persisted. Rival factions, wary of his growing influence, conspired to undermine him. Some believed that a human should never wield such power. Others sought to claim Elidris for themselves. Jackson met each threat with intelligence and strategy. He negotiated peacefully when possible, defended decisively when necessary, and always sought solutions that preserved life and strengthened alliances. One of his most significant achievements was uniting previously isolated systems under a shared council. Representatives from dozens of planets, human and alien alike, met to discuss trade, security, and technology sharing. Under Jackson's guidance, the council became a forum for cooperation rather than conflict, a revolutionary approach in a galaxy accustomed to war and rivalry. "You've done something remarkable," Elidris said as they surveyed the bustling council chamber from orbit. "You've shown that a human can lead not only by action, but by example." Jackson smiled. "It's not just me. It's everyone who believes in working together, learning, and improving. Humans have potential, but so do others, if they choose cooperation over conquest." Word of his achievements spread beyond the council. Young humans, inspired by Jackson's journey from a humble mechanic to a galactic leader, began to pursue careers in exploration, science, and diplomacy. Other species took note as well, realizing that leadership and innovation were not the domain of any single race. They were the product of creativity, courage, and the desire to make a difference. Jackson's influence also attracted scholars, engineers, and explorers to his orbit. Together, they studied the remnants of ancient civilizations, recovered lost knowledge, and shared it with planets across the galaxy. Technologies once thought impossible became tools for progress rather than weapons of war. Systems that had been isolated or struggling thrived under the network Jackson had established. But his greatest challenge awaited in the form of the ship itself. Elidris, though loyal and guiding, had its own history, bound to the civilization that had created it. To fully unlock its potential, Jackson had to understand not only its systems, but its legacy, a civilization that had risen and fallen millennia before humans had even reached the stars. Through meditation, study, and the lessons Elidris offered, Jackson gradually unlocked hidden knowledge within the ship. He discovered maps of star systems never charted, technologies capable of reshaping energy and matter, and historical records that revealed the wisdom and failures of civilizations far older than any human record. "The ship has chosen well," Elidris said. "Few beings could have unlocked this knowledge without losing themselves to arrogance or fear. You, human, have proven worthy." Jackson felt a deep sense of pride. Not pride in power, but in responsibility. The galaxy had entrusted him with knowledge, influence, and opportunity. It was now his duty to ensure that humans and the civilizations they interacted with used that knowledge wisely. As decades passed, Jackson's empire grew in prosperity and stability. Systems that once feared each other now collaborated. Technology and knowledge flowed freely where it could benefit all. Humanity, inspired by Jackson's example, advanced rapidly, not through domination, but through creativity, cooperation, and courage. Yet, for all his accomplishments, Jackson never forgot his origins. He remembered the small workshop, the 10 credits, and the gamble that had started it all. He often returned to the edge of the galaxy, visiting isolated colonies, teaching young humans, and ensuring that the spark of curiosity and ingenuity that had carried him this far would continue to inspire others. Elidris observed him, its light pulsing softly in the vastness of space. "Your journey has reshaped the galaxy, human. You have risen from mechanic to emperor, but more importantly, you have shown that a single individual, with determination and courage, can change the fate of countless worlds." Jackson nodded, looking at the stars stretching endlessly before him. "It's not just about me," he said. "It's about what humans and all beings can achieve if given the chance. If we dare to explore, learn, and work together." And so, Jackson Hale became a legend. Across star systems, his name was spoken with respect and admiration. He had transformed from a simple mechanic with 10 credits into the richest and most influential leader the galaxy had ever known, not through greed or domination, but through intelligence, courage, and the belief that humans could rise above expectations. As he piloted the ancient ship toward new worlds, seeking knowledge, adventure, and ways to help civilizations thrive, Jackson understood the truth that had carried him this far. The universe was vast, full of challenges, mysteries, and opportunities. But with determination, ingenuity, and compassion, even a human could shape the stars themselves. The galaxy had underestimated him once. They never would again. And somewhere deep among the stars, civilizations long gone, and civilizations still young, watched with quiet acknowledgement. A human had risen. A human had learned. A human had shaped the galaxy. And Jackson Hale, the mechanic who bought a ship for 10 credits, would forever be remembered as proof that courage, curiosity, and perseverance could make a single human legendary among the stars. The journey was complete, yet it would never truly end. For the galaxy would always have mysteries, the stars would always have challenges, and humanity now awakened to its true potential would always reach for them. And Jackson Hale would be there, leading the way.